We're turning our attention to the Connacht football final. It's a relatively novel pairing of Sligo and Galway this weekend, and I'm delighted to say Mark Breheny and Finian Hanley are with us this morning. Mark, we're going to start with you. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Ger. How are you? How are you keeping?
What's your level of excitement heading into the game this weekend?
Yeah, very excited. Obviously, our first final now in 8 years, so I think there's a great buzz around the town. Great buzz just chatting to people about it. You can see the flags beginning to slowly appear around shops, some houses as well around the town and the county. So, yeah, we're going to a final where we're going to be big underdogs. But the overall feeling is this is progression. It's great to be there, and let's see how it goes.
I think it's fair to feel about that progression that this isn't just a kind of random flaring up, because the various under-20 and under-age teams over the last number of years have done well, and you're coming to this final off the back of an incredible winning streak and promotion. So irrespective of what happens in the final, this isn't an island, it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 9 games in a row that we're on, that winning streak is very, very important. Backed up, as you said, with between schools football, Summerhill, our under-20s. There's just a good feeling out there amongst the GA community in Sligo. So, yeah, I think Sunday again is going to be an important progression, especially for this group. There are a lot of mid-20 guys. They've had a tough time. That one particular year didn't actually participate in the Connacht Championship due to COVID. So, that group, they had to come in as well at a stage where, I know when I was playing myself, there was a lot of guys kind of coming late 20s, early 30s, and this particular group, were only a lot of young guys coming in, 19, 20, and they've had to learn a lot in a quick period. So for them now and for Sligo to progress, I think these lads have to stay around the next 3-4 years to bring the under-20s through, and some of these very prosperous minors as well.
In a way, right, and I don't know if this is going to be, I don't mean this in any way insulting, but would it actually been better for that group to have come through the Tailteann Cup this year and to use that winning experience against teams of a similar standard? Because, look, maybe Kildare at home is the game they're going to look at and go, yeah, we can actually beat these guys. So maybe I'm completely wrong, but if there was silverware at the end of this, or a realistic chance of it, would that have been better for the group at that age, do you think?
I don't think so, and it's probably going back to maybe my own career, because unless you play against the better teams, Ger, you won't really find out what you're about as a player, as a group. So I think we need to get to a stage where we're back in Connacht finals. We need to learn a lot from this Galway game, however it goes. I think going back to 2015, we bet Roscommon the Division 2 champions at the time, and then we won that game, and I suppose we were on a huge high. We had a lot of young guys and a mixture of ages that day as well. But now we got obviously a fairly hammering in the Connacht final against Mayo. But within a few weeks we played Tyrone in Croke Park, and that game ended up, I think it was 21-15 or so. So for me, you learned a lot, obviously, and there was a lot of soul searching after a Mayo game in that kind of final. But we bounced back quickly. We learned a good bit, and if we got another game after Tyrone that particular year, I think we would have learned more again. So I think it's important that we're at this stage, especially for the development and the growth of a lot of these players. And again, going back to when I started off, I think the restructuring of the leagues back in the late 90s was a huge help for Sligo. What I'm talking about that is where we would have played the likes of Dublin, Kerry in the leagues around that period, and that brought it lovely then into the Connacht Championship, and you were just getting used to playing against teams that are moving the ball quicker and at a faster pace, and I think that just lent itself very, very well for an important run in the early noughties, and probably backed up then with the Connacht final of 2007.
We have Finian Hanley on the line this morning as well, and Finian, similar question to you as we started off with Mark, like in terms of the excitement levels in Galway for this one. I know Pádraig Joyce's reaction after the semi-final win probably highlighted how important the Connacht Championship still is to Galway, and I think you're one off Mayo in the Connacht GA Roll of Honour, so there's motivation there ahead of the weekend.
There is, yeah. I think there's a couple of factors here. We weren't expecting to be playing Roscommon in the first match. I suppose we were getting ready in Salt Hill for a Galway and Mayo extravaganza, which never materialised when the Rossies turned over Mayo.
So were Mayo, it turns out, Finian.
Exactly. So that was a bit of a shot in the dark. But obviously I was in Hyde Park, and it was a cagey affair. It didn't have the feel of a Connacht Championship. It was a very, very Obviously defensive, both teams are quite getting men behind the ball. It was cagey in the first half. Someone said it'll definitely be 5-5 or 6-5 at half time. Turned out 7-3, I think it was. And even though Roscommon came at Galway were fairly professional. You could see that they're a little bit further ahead in their development. With regards to the excitement, I think the excitement was coming into the Roscommon game more so than it was this weekend. We're not. There isn't that huge buzz for a Connacht final, but I do think for Pádraig and the lads, the significance of this weekend will be that Galway haven't won 2 in a row in 20 years. So in Connacht, which is quite amazing, really. So 2002 and 3 was the last time we did back to back in Connacht. I think I'm right, but so that'll be significant to get that monkey off the back and do back to back. The overall standings in Connacht, it'll be Galway, Mayo mostly that win these championships. So I don't think that way is heavy. But there isn't huge excitement around here this weekend, to be honest. It's a bit like it's a foregone conclusion with Galway, such heavy favourites, and obviously Sligo, progressing really well, but being in Division 4. There is still a gap there, even though Sligo are starting to close it. 2 under-20s back to back. But I think Galway, with regards to their development, having played in the All-Ireland final, the league final, are a bit further ahead. And, I think people in Galway are thinking this will be probably cagey in the first half, but comfortable in the end.
Because last year was so successful for Galway, obviously success this year is going to be going one step further, Finian. The team seems to have evolved happily through having players injured or away for whatever reason. New players have come in, old players have come back. It kind of feels like kind of Magnificent Seven style rallying of the troops for a massive surge this year. Is that the sense in Galway as well, that actually this has been handled very well?
Yeah, definitely. I think the club scene in Galway is quite strong at the minute. We have 4 really good football teams that could compete at a national stage with Salthill, Mycullen, Curfin and Mountbellew, and a lot of those players are in the county setup. We have 5 from Salthill in the county setup, so and they're all getting game time. So they've brought a bit of freshness, but Ian Burke is back, Peter Cook is back. Huge additions to this panel, and I think Galway are rallying to go one extra. One thing I will say though, Ger, is that last year was probably premature for Galway. We got over Armagh on penalties, a tight affair against Derry. We didn't play a Dublin or a Kerry. Maybe it was a year ahead of where we should be, but look, we are where we are. We have that experience now, and the talk in Galway is certainly about All Irelands.
Mark, just listen to what Finian's saying there and how heavy favourites Galway are. Is there a belief in Sligo that they can win this game on Sunday? Because I'm looking at the bookies and they have Galway as 12-point favourites for the match, but is there actually a belief within Sligo that they can turn this one?
I think there's a belief that we could put in a good performance, Shane, and that's what we're looking for. I think Tony McEnany has been quoted in saying that it is going to be progression over this group stage. This Galway game, will it come maybe a year or two too early for us? Possibly, but I think what I've seen in the league has been a lot of professional approaches to games between. I think the London game away was one that stood out for me. I think they won 110-6, and that game in particular just went away to London to win it. I know obviously London are no big power, but at the same time it was just going over there, do the job. I mean, comprehensively bet New York, where a lot of people were doubting, because Sligo were close to Leitrim in the league at the end of the league, and New York got the better of Leitrim. That could have been a tight game in Marquich Park, but Sligo did a very professional job there as well. So overall, I mean, the 9 games in a row, they're growing confidence. I'm just going back to one under 21 game back in 2017, where a lot of Sligo's panel are there at the moment, and they played in that particular day, and they played Galway in that under 21 final. It went to extra time, and even the names that were on that Galway team, a good few of them are still there. You've got Killian McDade and Peter Cook and Sean Kelly. So I think our lads have matched up against these guys before at underage level. Just that gap between the experience of playing in Division 1, obviously in Division, at the higher divisions, Division 1, Division 2, will probably come against Sligo this Sunday. But at the same time, it's a real development stage for this group. It's great to get to a Connacht final. We're 8 years without one, and I think there's just a good anticipation and a good buzz around Sligo that they're going to go and fully back the team on Sunday.
There are players in that Sligo forward line though that certainly the Galway defenders will have to be wary of and conscious of. The big score they put up at Markovic against New York, albeit, as you say, it's New York, but it was wet conditions, and they put up, a right bit of a score. Even Patrick O'Connor, Niall Murphy, Pat Spillane as well. Like, these lads are wiry players, and Galway will have to have a plan for them, you'd imagine, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think Porrick Joyce would be naive not to have plans. I mean, you look at the scores even in the National League. You've Sean Caravan in 35, Murphy 28. Pat Spillane has come in. He scored 2-11 from play. You've got Paddy O'Connor 1-11. So a bit like Galway, if Shane Walsh is off on a particular day, Comer steps up, or Ian Burke now is coming into the fray as well. But so if Niall Murphy is having an off, then Paddy O'Connor is chipping in, straight away, immediately with a few scores, and Pat Spillane is there as well. And so you look at our forward line, you've got Niall Murphy and Paddy O'Connor, both former midfielders. Paddy O'Connor played, I felt, a very good game against Tom Parsons in 2017 in midfield. Niall Murphy was a young 21-year-old in 2015 when we bet Roscommon and got to that Connacht final and did a very, very good job in Division 3 league for us that time. But both of them are inside in the full forward line now. And I'm just probably thinking with Tony McEntee's own team of Armagh back in the early noughties, of the two men inside with Stevie McDonald and Ronan Clark, that, I suppose Niall and Paddy wouldn't be the 6'3", 6'4" typical midfielders, but they're rangy guys, they're good in the air. And I think if we can get good early ball in on Galway on Sunday, we can cause them a little bit of trouble.
Is the hope that Tony McEntee can lead the team in a Louth style run over the next couple of years, now that they've free from the COVID disruption and missing the championship, and actually getting a good run at it?
Yeah, I think so. I was involved as a selector with Tony the first year in COVID, and it was very disruptive. We played Louth. It was the divisions were broke up into kind of groups of 4 back then, and so we had Louth, Antrim and Leitrim. Now, we bet Leitrim in our first game. We felt we were going well, and we had Antrim, and that was, I think, it just went right down to the wire. They bet us by a point up in Corrigan Park. And then we went to Louth, and I have to say, one of the best cycle performances I had seen in years in the first half, and we were well in control of the game. And they got a goal immediately from the throw-in in the second half, and they ended up beating us by a few points on the day. But I just seen Louth progression all of a sudden. They got the bounce of getting out of that group that particular year. They went from 3 to 2. And you could see then just the confidence growing, and Mickey Hart obviously instilling a good game plan amongst them. So I think if the big thing for us was getting out of Division 4 this year, everything now is really big bonus territory. There's no pressure on us going in on Sunday. And as I said, I'm hoping for just a good performance. And I think we have a lot of forwards there that can cause these Galway defenders a little bit of trouble on the day.
Finian, you mentioned the fact that last year might have been a little bit ahead of schedule. What do you see in this year to give you some confidence that actually, if they do come up against a Dublin or a Kerry, that they have enough different style of play within a match that they're actually going to be able to adapt to the challenges, the particular challenges that they will throw up?
I think we have a bigger panel this year, Ger, to be honest. Obviously, John Maher's been a revelation. He's been knocking around the club scene for 6 or 7 years. He's from Salthill, but he's come in this year and really, lit up. Killy McDay got injured, and he's lit up the midfield area with Paul Conroy. We have options there with Peter Cook. We have big men. We have Matthew Tierney. We can put a lot of guys out to midfield if we need to. I think up front, particularly, you'll have Ian Burke, Damien Comer, probably, and Shane Walsh, given their performance the last day. But you've Tom O'Culhan, Desi Keneally, and obviously Robert Finnerty on the bench. So you've got another front three to come in there, Ger. So look, we have a bit more experience, obviously, in players who've played in the final. But then we've got a really, really good supporting cast at the minute, with guys who've got significant game time against big teams in Division 1. And I do think that our counter-attacking game this year has gone another level. Last year we were a little bit trying to figure it out after coming off the back of a more attacking style when Porrick came in first. So from what I've seen this year, we've gone extreme at times with 15 men inside our own 45, really nailing it down and going on extreme counter. And it looks like they've developed that another bit further, which gives them probably a better defensive structure and a better foundation. They're not conceding as much. No, they're not scoring as much either. But yeah, I think in tight games, if you keep it to 50, 60 minutes, we do have the forwards then to go and push on.
I think it's a slightly underrated narrative here about Porrick Joyce displaying a lack of ego in bringing Keane ONeill on board and saying everything I said when I arrived here. I might have been a little bit, I might have jumped the gun a little bit with we're going to go out free flow and attacking football a la the 98 team, and then it's like, actually that's not going to work for us, so I need to rethink this. And Keane ONeill is obviously a big persona, a big personality. You can see on the sideline that sometimes the conversations are heated, but not everybody has the balls to do that and actually, you know what, I'm ready to have somebody who will fight me on the sideline and go, actually, you know what, I think I'm right and I have the conviction of my views. It's rare enough that a manager has the emotional intelligence to do that.
Definitely, and obviously Pádraig is a god in Galway, and he's been looked up to by everyone as a player, now as a manager. He's done it at every level, and after the first 2 years they didn't go great. There was a hope that football may change into the tiki-taka or the extreme attacking, but look, it hasn't, and maybe it won't for a while. So, to allow Keane ONeill, who's a super experienced coach, has been there on loads of fronts with different teams, Mayo and Tip and Kerry, and got over the line to, the reign. I don't know what level of expertise he brings to the whole setup with regards to the finer detail, but it looks like they are finely tuned machine that everyone knows their role when they're without the ball, when they're with the ball, how they move into attack, how they move into defence. Rory Gallagher's doing it in Derry as well. So, Pádraig is really, he brought in the structures. He's managing it really well. There's a good buzz in Galway. There's development squads. There's, they're trying to raise money for the team, trying to raise money for underage. Pádraig's at the forefront of that. In chatting to him, he's trying to do everything to leave this in a really, really good place and get over the line to win that All Ireland Championship as well. So. Fair play to him. He has it in a really good place. There's everyone singing off the same hymn sheet, and he has them all, really chomping to get in and play. And I assume that Keane ONeill is a big part of that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely fair play to him. Fair play to you both for joining us this morning. Enjoy the game, folks. I won't ask you for predictions. We have a fair sense that it's going to be a Galway win, but maybe it's the manner of the performance really that everybody's looking forward to. Mark, best of luck this weekend. Finian, thanks a million for joining us too.
Thanks, sir.
It's Mark Breheny and Finian Hanley giving us their thoughts on it.